Jake Morrison wiped grease from his hands and looked at the broken mining drill. The machine had been giving them trouble for 3 days now. He was the chief engineer on mining station Kepler-7, and fixing broken things was his job. The station floated in the asteroid belt, far from Earth, far from help. "Jake, you need to see this," Lisa Carter called from the control room. She was the security officer, and her voice sounded wrong, tight, scared. Jake walked to the control room. Through the big windows he could see the usual view. Rocks floating in space, stars, nothing special. But Lisa was pointing at her screen. "There," she said. "Something big just came out of hyperspace." Jake looked at the screen. A ship hung in space near their station. It was black and smooth like a shark. No lights, no signals, just sitting there watching them. "Did they try to talk to us?" Jake asked. "Nothing. They just appeared and stopped." Dr. Ben Hughes came into the control room. He was their medical officer, a thin man with kind eyes. "What's going on? The whole crew is talking about a ship. Right there," Lisa pointed. Ben looked at the screen and went quiet. The ship was beautiful in a deadly way, like a knife made of shadow. Amy Foster, their communications officer, ran into the room. "Jake, I'm getting a signal. It's not like anything I've heard before." "Put it on the speakers," Jake said. The room filled with a deep, rumbling voice. The words were clear, but the accent was strange. Cold. "Humans of this vessel, I am Vexthara of the Kithani Hunt Pride. You have been selected for the sacred hunt. Your species shows promise as worthy prey. Prepare yourselves. The hunt begins at the next cycle." The message ended. The room was quiet except for the hum of the station systems. "Did it just call us prey?" Amy asked. Her face was pale. "I think it did," Ben said slowly. Lisa was already moving to her security panel. "I'm calling general quarters. All crew to emergency stations." Jake watched the alien ship through the window. It was bigger than their station. Much bigger. And somewhere inside it was something that wanted to hunt them. The crew of Kepler-7 gathered in the main meeting room. 43 people. Miners. Engineers, pilots, cooks. Regular people who had signed up to dig rocks out of space, not to be hunted by aliens. "Options?" Jake asked the group. "We could run," said Carl Johnson, the station's electrician. "Jump to hyperspace and get out of here." "The hyperdrive needs 6 hours to charge," said Nina Walsh, their pilot. "We used it 3 days ago to move to this asteroid field." "We could call for help," suggested Tony Rodriguez, one of the mechanics. "Nearest military base is 2 weeks away," Lisa said. "Even if we sent a message now, help wouldn't come in time." Jake looked around the room. Fear was on every face. These were good people. They had families back home, kids. They didn't deserve this. "So we fight," Jake said. "Fight?" Carl laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Jake, did you see that ship? Did you hear that thing's voice? It sounded like it could eat us all for breakfast." "Maybe," Jake said. "But I've got a question. If this thing is so great at hunting, why did it warn us? Why not just attack?" The room was quiet as people thought about this. "Maybe it likes the sport," Ben said slowly. "Maybe it wants us to be afraid. Maybe it wants us to run around screaming," Amy added. Jake nodded. "Or maybe it's just used to easy prey. Maybe it's never met humans before." Through the speakers, Vexithara's voice came again. "The cycle begins now, humans. I will give you time to understand your situation. You are trapped on this station. You cannot escape. You cannot call for help. You can only wait for me to come for you. I suggest you use this time to pray to whatever gods you worship." The message cut off. Jake stood up and walked to the window. The alien ship was still there, dark and patient. Inside his chest, something strange was happening. He felt afraid, yes, but he also felt something else. Something that made him want to smile. "You know what?" Jake said to the room. "I think this alien just made a big mistake." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. Jake turned back to his crew. The fear was still there in their faces, but now there was something else too. Curiosity, Hope. It told us we're trapped. It told us we can't escape. It told us to pray. Jake's smile got bigger. But you know what it didn't tell us to do? The crew waited. It didn't tell us to give up. Tony Rodriguez was the first to smile, then Amy. Then, Ben. Soon the whole room was grinning like idiots. So what do we do? Carl asked. We show this thing what happens when you try to hunt humans, Jake said. Lisa, I want every weapon on this station ready to go. Carl, cut power to non-essential areas and reroute it to the shields. Tony, Amy, Ben, start making a list of everything on this station that could be used as a weapon or trap. What about you? Ben asked. Jake looked back at the alien ship. Somewhere inside it, Vexithera was probably getting ready for an easy hunt. Poor alien had no idea what it was about to face. I'm going to send our new friend a message, Jake said. Time to let it know that humans don't scare easy. Vexithera moved through the human station like death itself. 8 feet tall, covered in scales that changed color with mood, claws that could cut through steel. For 3,000 years, the Kithani had hunted across the galaxy. Every species broke the same way. First came fear, then panic, then the desperate running. But these humans were acting strange. Vexithera had killed 3 of them in the first hour. Quick, clean deaths to show the others what was coming. The survivors should have been hiding in the deepest parts of their station, crying and waiting to die. Instead, they were working. Through the station's cameras, Vexithera watched the human, called Tony Rodriguez in the maintenance section. The small human was connecting mining explosives to door panels, not to blow his way out, but to blow up anyone who came through the doors. In another section, the female called Amy Foster was at a communication station. But she wasn't calling for help. She was talking to other crew members, telling them where. Vexithera had been seen, coordinating their movements like a military commander. And in the medical bay, the healer Ben Hughes was doing 2 things at once. Treating wounded humans with one hand, mixing chemicals with the other. The chemicals smelled bad, even through Vexithera's air filters. None of this made sense. Prey didn't organize. Prey didn't set traps. Prey ran and hid and died. The speakers crackled, and Jake Morrison's voice filled the station. Hey there, Tall. Dark and scaly. Nice work so far. 3 kills in 1 hour, not bad for a beginner. Vexithera stopped moving. In all its centuries of hunting, no prey had ever mocked it. Jake's voice continued. But let me tell you something about humans. We're really bad at knowing when we're supposed to give up. See, you made this personal when you called us prey. Big mistake. Vexithera hissed softly. The human's tone was wrong. There was no fear in it, no respect, just amusement. You want to hunt us? Fine. But here's the thing about hunting humans. We hunt back. The communication cut off. Vexithera stood in the corridor, confused. This had never happened before. Every species in the galaxy knew to fear the Kithani. Every species except these, humans. Vexithera decided to show them why they should be afraid. The alien hunter moved toward the engineering section, where its sensors said several humans were gathered. It would kill them all at once, let the others hear their screams. But when Vexithera entered the engineering bay, it was empty. Just machines and the steady hum of the station's power systems. Looking for us? Vexithera spun around. Jake Morrison stood in the doorway, but he wasn't alone. 5 other humans flanked him, all carrying makeshift weapons. Mining tools, plasma cutters, things that could hurt even a Kithani. Surprise, Jake said, and smiled. The humans attacked together. Not like frightened prey, but like a pack of predators. They moved with purpose, each one covering the others, forcing Vexithera to fight 6 opponents at once. Vexithera was faster and stronger, but the humans were smart. When it lunged at one, another would attack from behind. When it used its claws, they scattered and regrouped. They fought like soldiers, not victims. The alien hunter managed to wound 2 of them before the others forced it to retreat. As Vexithera fled down the corridor, Jake Morrison's laughter followed it. Round 1 goes to us, lizard boy. This was impossible. Prey didn't laugh during combat. Prey didn't coordinate attacks. Prey didn't make jokes while bleeding. Vexithera found a quiet section of the station and tried to understand what was happening. Its people had hunted for millennia. They had perfected the art of fear, of breaking their prey's will to fight. But these humans seemed to get stronger when threatened, not weaker. The station's lights flickered and went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting red shadows everywhere. Vexithera smiled. The humans were trying to hide in darkness. Finally, they were acting like proper prey. But then Jake Morrison's voice came through the speakers again. Sorry about the lights, big guy. Carl needed to reroute power to something more important. Hope you're not afraid of the dark. Afraid? Vexithera was a creature of darkness. It could see perfectly in the red emergency light. The humans had just made themselves easier to hunt, but as Vexithera moved through the darkened corridors, it began to notice things. Spray-painted messages on the walls. Humans, too stupid to quit. And mess with humans, get the horns. And death is just another Tuesday for us. Who wrote jokes when they were about to die? Vexithera rounded a corner and walked into a cloud of white mist. The alien hunter's eyes began to water. Its throat burned. The chemical spray Ben Hughes had been making, it was everywhere, turning the air itself into a weapon. Through the burning mist, Vexithera heard footsteps. Running toward it, not away. More humans, wearing breathing masks, carrying weapons. Gas. Masks, people. Lisa Carter's voice. Just like we practiced. Practiced. How long had they been planning this? Vexithera fought blind, slashing at shapes in the chemical fog. It hit some of them, heard human cries of pain. But there were always more, always attacking from new directions. When the mist cleared, Vexithera was alone again. The humans had vanished like ghosts, but they had left something behind. More messages written in the alien hunter's own blood. Thanks for the workout. You're getting better at this. Same time tomorrow? Vexithera stared at the messages. These humans were insane. They were outmatched, outgunned, facing certain death. And they were having fun. For the first time in 3,000 years of hunting, Vexithera felt something new. Not anger, not frustration. Something colder. Fear. The prey had become predators. The hunted were hunting back. And they were laughing while they did it. Through the station's speakers, Jake Morrison's voice crackled one more time. Hey, Vexithera, you still there, buddy? Just wanted to let you know we're just getting started. You came here looking for prey, but you found something else. You found humans. And humans? We don't know how to quit. The hunt had been going on for 6 hours, and Vexithera was starting to understand why it felt wrong. The humans weren't breaking. They were learning. Every time Vexithera used a new attack, they found a way to counter it. When it cut power to a section, Carl Johnson rerouted electricity through the mining equipment, creating new weapons. When it used stealth technology to become nearly invisible, Nina Walsh flooded the corridors with coolant mist that made its outline visible. But the worst part wasn't their adaptability. It was their attitude. They were treating this like a game. Vexithera crouched in a maintenance shaft, listening to the humans coordinate over their communication system. They should have been whispering in fear. Instead, they were chatting like friends. Tony, how many traps do we have left in Section 7? That was Lisa Carter. 4 explosive, 2 chemical, and 1 really nasty surprise I put together with some mining cables, Tony Rodriguez replied. He sounded cheerful. Nice work. Amy, what's our guest's location? Maintenance shaft B7, trying to be sneaky. Amy Foster answered. Want me to flush it out with some music? I found some really bad Earth pop songs in the database. Vexithera hissed quietly. They knew exactly where it was. They were talking about it like a pest problem. Jake Morrison's voice joined the conversation. Save the music for later, Amy. Let's see if our friend wants to come out and play. The shaft, suddenly filled with sparks. Carl Johnson had electrified the metal walls. Vexithera had to move fast, jumping out into a corridor where 3 humans waited with mining tools raised like weapons. But instead of attacking immediately, Jake Morrison held up his hand. Wait, give it a second to catch its breath. That's only sporting. Sporting? Vexithara stared at the humans. They were giving it time to recover. No prey had ever shown mercy to a predator. You know, Jake continued, looking directly at Vexithara. My grandfather used to hunt deer back on Earth. He always said the best hunts were the ones where the prey fought back. Makes it more interesting. Ben Hughes stepped forward with a medical scanner. It's hurt. That electrical trap got it pretty good. Should we patch it up? Amy asked. Seems unfair to fight something that's wounded. Vexithara's mind reeled. These humans were discussing healing their hunter. It was beyond comprehension. Nah, Jake said with a grin. It's tough. Besides, it wanted a hunt. Wouldn't want to disappoint it. The humans attacked, but not like before. This time they moved like they had been doing this for years. Lisa Carter came from the left while Tony Rodriguez flanked right. Amy Foster stayed back with a plasma cutter, ready to support whoever needed help. Ben Hughes watched for injuries, ready to help friend or foe. They fought like a machine made of people. Every move planned, every attack coordinated. Vexithara was faster and stronger, but the humans were a team. The alien hunter managed to break, free and retreat again, but not before hearing Jake Morrison call out, "Good hustle, everyone. We're getting better at this." Getting better. They were getting better at fighting a creature that had killed thousands of beings across the galaxy. They were treating it like a learning experience. Vexithara found a quiet spot near the station's power core and tried to think. In all its years of hunting, it had never faced prey like this. Most species either fought desperately until they died or gave up and waited for death. These humans were doing neither. They were evolving during the hunt itself. The lights dimmed, again, but this time it wasn't Carl cutting power. Jake Morrison's voice came over the speakers, but softer now. More thoughtful. You know, Vexithara, I've been thinking about what you said earlier, about us being prey. And I realized you might not understand what you're dealing with here. Vexithara listened despite itself. See, humans come from a planet where everything tried to eat us. Big cats, bears, venomous snakes, disease, weather that could kill you in minutes. But we didn't just survive all that. We thrived. You know how? The alien hunter found itself genuinely curious. We learned that being the biggest or strongest or fastest doesn't make you the best predator. Being the smartest does. Being able to adapt. Being able to work together. And most importantly, being too stubborn to quit when things get hard. Jake's voice took on a different tone, still friendly, but with steel underneath. You called us prey, but you've got it backwards. We're not the prey in this situation. We're the invasive species, and you're the ecosystem that's about to find out what happens when humans show up somewhere they don't belong. The communication cut off, leaving Vexithara alone with that thought. An hour later, the alien hunter tried a different approach. Instead of hunting individuals, it would attack their power source. Without electricity, their traps wouldn't work. Their weapons would fail. Their coordination would break down. But when Vexithara reached the power core, it found Ben Hughes waiting, alone, apparently unarmed. "Hey there," Ben said calmly. "Figured you'd try this eventually. Most predators go for the life support when they're frustrated." Vexithara paused. The human doctor wasn't running or fighting. He was just standing there like they were having a casual conversation. "You want to know something interesting about humans?" Ben continued, pulling out his medical scanner and pointing it at Vexithara. "We're persistence hunters. Back on Earth, our ancestors would chase prey for days. Not fast enough to catch them quickly, not strong enough to kill them easily. But we never ever gave up. We just kept following until the prey collapsed from exhaustion." Vexithara realized this was another trap, but couldn't see how. There was only one human, and it appeared defenseless. "The thing is," Ben said, still scanning, "persistence hunting works because prey animals think like prey. They run until they're tired, then they rest. Run, rest, run, rest. But humans? We don't rest. We don't stop. We just keep coming." The scanner beeped, and Ben smiled. "Elevated stress hormones, increased heart rate, muscle fatigue. You're getting tired, aren't you? All that jumping around, fighting multiple opponents, constantly having to adapt to new threats. Must be exhausting." Vexathara suddenly understood. This wasn't just a hunt, it was a marathon. And the humans were built for marathons. The hunt isn't going how you planned, is it? Ben asked gently. You expected fear, but found laughter. You expected panic, but found coordination. You expected prey, but found something else entirely. Before Vexathara could respond, Jake Morrison's voice echoed through the power core chamber. Time's up, Doc. The room filled with humans. Not 3 or 4 this time, but 12. They had been waiting in the walls, in the vents, behind machinery, all armed, all coordinated, all smiling. Told you we were persistence hunters, Jake said. Welcome to the pack. Vexathara moved through the station's corridors like a wounded animal. The encounter in the power core had shaken it more than any physical injury could. For the first time in its long life as a hunter, it was truly afraid. The humans were everywhere, now, not hiding, not running, but actively hunting their hunter. They moved in coordinated groups, communicated constantly, and worst of all, they seemed to be enjoying themselves more as the hunt went on. Vexathara's sensors picked up movement in the medical bay. One human, alone. Finally, an easy target. The alien hunter approached carefully, using its stealth technology to remain invisible. Through the doorway, it could see Ben Hughes working at a medical station. The doctor was wounded, a deep cut on his arm from their earlier encounter, and he was alone. No backup, no weapons visible, no way to call for help. Vexathara entered the medical bay, claws extended. This would be quick, but Ben didn't run. He didn't even look up from his work. You can turn off the stealth tech, Ben said calmly, continuing to treat his wound. Your breathing pattern changes when you use it. Deeper breaths, slower heart rate. Plus, you smell like ozone. Vexathara flickered back into visibility, confused. The human had known it was there the entire time. You think you're an apex predator? Ben asked, still not looking at the alien hunter. That's interesting. Let me tell you about Earth. Ben finally looked up, meeting Vexathara's eyes without fear. We didn't climb to the top of the food chain by being the strongest or the fastest. We got there by being so unreasonably persistent that other predators gave up and went extinct rather than deal with us. Vexathara raised its claws, but something in the human's tone made it hesitate. Take the mammoth, Ben continued, wrapping bandages around his arm. Huge creatures, thick skin, massive tusks, weighed as much as your ship. Know how we hunted them? With pointy sticks. Not magic sticks, not energy sticks, just sharp pieces of wood. The alien hunter lowered its claws slightly. This human was talking to it like they were having a normal conversation, not a life-or-death encounter. But we didn't just poke them with sticks and hope for the best. Ben went on. We followed mammoth herds for weeks. We studied their behavior, learned their patterns, figured out their weaknesses. Then we worked together, dozens of humans with pointy sticks, until these massive creatures just gave up. Ben finished with his bandages and looked directly at Vexathara again. You know what happened to the mammoths? They're extinct. You know what happened to the humans with pointy sticks? We built space stations and learned how to travel between stars. Vexathara found itself listening, genuinely curious despite the situation. Or take wolves, Ben said, opening a medical kit. Pack hunters. Fangs, claws, built for killing. Natural predators. You know what we did with them? We looked at these dangerous predators and said, those would make nice pets, and now dogs help us hunt other animals. The doctor pulled out a small device and began scanning Vexathara from across the room. You're running a fever, stress and exhaustion. When's the last time you ate something? I do not require food from prey, Vexathara growled, but the words felt hollow. See, that's your first mistake, Ben said with a slight smile. You keep thinking of us as prey, but humans aren't really predators or prey. We're survivors. We looked at fire and said, I want that. We looked at lightning and said, I want that too. We saw the deepest ocean trenches and the highest mountains and planted flags on both. Ben stood up slowly, keeping his hands visible. You want to know what makes humans different from every other species you've hunted? We don't just adapt to our environment. We make the environment adapt to us. Vexithara's head was spinning. This conversation wasn't going how it expected. The thing is, Ben continued, we're not really apex predators in the traditional sense. Real apex predators are specialized. They're perfect for their specific environment, their specific prey. But what happens when the environment changes? What happens when the prey evolves? The doctor gestured around the medical bay. Humans aren't specialized, we're generalists. We can live anywhere, eat anything, use any tool, solve any problem. We don't just survive in our environment, we survive in every environment. Vexithara took a step forward, but Ben didn't flinch. You came here thinking you'd found worthy prey. But you actually found something much rarer. You found a species that looked at an 8-foot-tall alien hunter and said, "Okay, this should be fun." Humans are not apex predators, Vexithara said, but its voice lacked conviction. You're right, Ben nodded. We're not apex predators. We're something much more dangerous. We're the species that turns apex predators into pets, hunting partners, or friends. We're the species that looks at the food chain and says, "This seems inefficient. Let's reorganize it." Ben moved closer, and for the first time, Vexithara took a step back. You want to know the scariest thing about humans? We're the only species that hunts for sport, keeps the most dangerous creatures as companions, and when something tries to kill us, our first response isn't fear, it's curiosity. It's I wonder how this works, and I bet we could do that better. The medical bay's doors suddenly opened, and Jake Morrison walked in with Lisa Carter and Amy Foster. They weren't rushing, weren't attacking, they were just arriving. Everything okay in here, Doc? Jake asked casually. Just having a conversation about apex predators, Ben replied. Jake looked at Vexithara, then back at Ben. Learn anything interesting? Oh yes, Ben said, not taking his eyes off the alien hunter. I learned that our friend here has been hunting the wrong species. It came looking for prey but found survivors instead. Vexithara looked around the room. 4 humans, all within striking distance, all calm, all confident, all looking at it with something that wasn't fear or hatred but something far worse. Pity. The hunt is over, isn't it? Amy asked quietly. Was over the moment it started, Jake replied. Our friend here just didn't know it yet. Vexithara stood in the center of the medical bay, surrounded by humans who should have been its prey. The alien hunter was wounded, exhausted, and for the first time in its existence, completely outmatched. But the humans weren't moving in for the kill. Jake Morrison stepped forward, his hands empty. You know what the difference is between a predator and a survivor? He asked. A predator kills what it needs to eat. A survivor figures out how to make everything else work for them instead. Vexithara's claws twitched, but it was too tired to fight. The hunt had lasted 12 hours, and the humans had never stopped adapting, never stopped coordinating, never stopped learning. They had turned the station itself into a weapon against it. Look at you, Jake continued, his voice neither cruel nor kind, just matter-of-fact. Perfect hunter. Evolved for millions of years to be the ultimate predator. Faster than us, stronger than us, better armed than us, and you're losing to a bunch of miners with mining tools. We are Cathani, Vexithara said weakly. We are apex predators. We have hunted across the galaxy for 3,000 years. I'm sure you have, Ben Hughes said, pulling out his medical equipment. But you've been hunting the wrong kind of species. You've been hunting prey animals. Animals that run when threatened, hide when scared, give up when cornered. Ben approached slowly, scanner in hand. But humans aren't prey animals. We're pursuit predators that learn to use tools. And the thing about pursuit predators is we don't give up. Ever. Amy Foster spoke from near the door. You want to know how humans became the dominant species on Earth? We outlasted everything else. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, meteor impacts, plagues. Everything that killed off the bigger, stronger, faster species, we just survived. We're not the apex predator because we're the best at killing, Lisa Carter added. We're the apex species because we're the best at not dying, Jake knelt down so he was at eye level with the wounded alien. Here's what I think happened. You and your people have been hunting for so long you forgot what real predators look like. You've been picking on herbivores and scavengers, things that evolved to run away. But humans, we evolved to chase things until they collapsed from exhaustion, then make friends with their children. Vex Thera looked around the room at the four humans. They could kill it easily now, but they weren't even holding weapons. Instead, Ben was scanning it with medical equipment. You're dehydrated, Ben announced. Blood sugar is low, core temperature is elevated, and you're showing signs of severe stress. When's the last time you slept? I do not require rest during a hunt, Vexathara replied automatically. See, that's your problem right there, Jake said with a grin. You think this is still a hunt, but it stopped being a hunt about 6 hours ago. Now it's just us waiting for you to figure out what humans figured out a long time ago. Which is what? That cooperation beats competition every time, Amy said. You came here alone, hunting alone, thinking like a lone predator. But humans stopped being lone predators about 50,000 years ago. We became pack hunters. Then we became social creatures. Then we became a civilization. Ben pulled out a water container and offered it to Vexathara. The alien hunter stared at it, confused. It's water, Ben explained patiently. You need to drink something or you're going to collapse. And despite what you might think, we don't actually want you to die. Why? Vexathara asked. The word came out as barely a whisper. Because that's what humans do, Lisa said simply. We turn enemies into allies. We turn predators into partners. We turn problems into solutions. It's what we're good at. Jake stood up and looked down at Vexathara. You came here thinking you'd found worthy prey, but you actually discovered something much more valuable. You found a species that could teach you what it really means to be Apex. I am already Apex, Vexathara protested weakly. Are you? Amy asked. Because apex predators don't usually get cornered by their food. Apex predators don't usually need to resort to fear tactics and intimidation. Apex predators don't usually spend 12 hours trying to kill 4 dozen miners and fail. Ben knelt beside Vexathara with the water container. Real apex predators don't hunt alone. They don't need to announce themselves. They don't need to give their prey time to prepare. You know why? Because they're confident enough in their abilities that they don't need all the theater. Vexathara looked at the water, then at Ben's face. There was no deception there, no hidden agenda, just genuine concern for another living being. Slowly, the alien hunter took the water and drank. Better? Jake asked. Vexathara nodded reluctantly. Good. Now let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to go back to your ship. You're going to contact your people and tell them to mark human space as off-limits. Not because we asked you to, but because hunting humans is a losing proposition. And if I refuse? Jake's smile was friendly, but his eyes were serious. Then you'll spend the rest of your very short life learning exactly why humans conquered an entire planet, full of things trying to eat them. Amy stepped forward. Or, and hear me out on this, you could try something revolutionary. You could try making friends instead of making corpses. Friends? Vexathara looked confused. It's this crazy human concept, Lisa explained. Instead of hunting other species, you work with them. Instead of proving dominance through violence, you prove worth through cooperation. Instead of being feared, you become valued. Ben finished treating Vexathara's wounds and stepped back. The choice is yours. You can keep being a hunter, keep picking on species that can't fight back, keep living in the past. Or you can evolve, like humans did. Jake helped Vexathara to its feet. What's it going to be, friend? Vexathara looked around the room one final time. At the humans who had outfought it, outthought it, and then offered it water when it was defeated. At the species that had looked at certain death and responded with laughter and teamwork. For the first time in 3,000 years, Vexathara had found something truly apex, and it wasn't a predator at all. I will contact my people, Vexathara said quietly. Human space will be marked as forbidden territory. Not forbidden, Jake corrected gently. Protected. There's a difference. As Vexithara prepared to leave, Ben called after it. Hey, next time you're in the neighborhood, stop by for dinner instead of a hunt. Amy makes excellent coffee, and I'd love to hear more stories about other species you've met. The alien hunter paused at the door. You would welcome me back, after I tried to kill you? That's what friends do, Jake replied. Besides, you gave us the most interesting day we've had in months. We should be thanking you. As Vexithara walked back to its ship, it could hear the humans behind it already joking about the encounter, already turning their brush with death into a story they'd tell for years. That, Vexithara realized, was the most terrifying thing of all. Humans didn't just survive, they thrived. They took the worst experiences and somehow made them better. They truly were apex. Not because they were the best killers, but because they were the best at living.